the heart and soul behind every business. Stories. Welcome to Business Story of the Week, hosted by me, Joshua Laurie. From setbacks to comebacks, from tragedies to triumphs, we inspire entrepreneurs through conversations that matter. Witness the magic that turns dreams into reality. Whether it's your career, business, or life, your success is always one story away. This is Business Story of the Week.
Hi, I'm Dr. Freda Wy, and this is Business Story of the Week.
Fantastic. And that is a lovely Dr. Freda Wy. She's our guest for today. I am Joshua. I am your host. Dr. Freda, was the young Freda Wy always into science? Did she know she was always going to be a writer?
That's a loaded question. So I was always extremely curious, and I've been told that I've retained a childlike curiosity well into adulthood. So I knew I would do something where I could be curious and have that part of me fed. And I
Wow.
enjoyed writing as a child. So, and that was something I excelled in as a child. So it just, over time, I think I was going to get there one way or
Wow,
the other.
that's fascinating, by the way. I love how you said like over time you were going to get there eventually because it was truly always part of you. And that is what we are going to unravel today, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Freda Wy is a former healthcare professional turned best-selling author, speaker, and award-winning author, of course, a self-professed accidental entrepreneur. She has spoken at the State University of New York and Howard University and made television, podcast, and radio appearances. She wrote a health column for WebMD and has written for top brands such as the Oprah Magazine, AARP, Pfizer, and the National Institute of Health. And today, Dr. Freda is going to be sharing her stories, her books that are coming out and are already out, and everything in between. Dr. Freda, thank you for coming on to the show. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me. How are you?
Dr. I'm doing great. I mean, I'm excited because we got to talk a little bit before the show, and you have a new book that's about to come out, and I want to make sure we cover that a little bit, but also cover the other books that you've written that are already out, and talk about your career as well and your stories. Stories is always where it's at. We love stories here. That's literally the second name of the show, right? And but Dr. Freda, you've been a pharmacist. You've been both a pharmacist and a writer to date. I want to ask a little bit about that story and lay a groundwork in here and where your connection between navigating, your career in as a pharmacist, as a healthcare professional, and to the creative freedom of writing, so to speak. Where was a pivotal moment where, you got started into medicine, into your healthcare career, and then decided that I'm going to be a writer?
Yeah, so I think the seed for that was planted while I was in pharmacy school. So I spent my summers during pharmacy school interning with Procter and Gamble back when they still
Hmm.
had a pharmaceutical division. And that
Hmm.
second summer, I got exposed to medical writing. I had never heard of it, and it was just earth-shattering for me because I thought that writing, at least for a living, was something that you did after you retired from your quote unquote real job.
Hmm.
And then when I got out of pharmacy school, I worked on the patient care side for 3 years and I tried to freelance. And it was pretty hard because, you're pulling the long hours and different things. So after a while, I just kind of decided, it's now or never. I did experience burnout like many healthcare professionals have experienced, but I just took that as a sign. It's sink or swim. And if I sank, then I would leave with no regrets and knowing
Hmm.
that I gave it a shot. And for whatever reason, it wasn't supposed to work out. But if I could land at least one anchor client within, that first year or first 6 months or so, then I was going to use that as the momentum to keep going.
Wow, I love that. And throughout that journey, of course, it's very interesting. You talk about like feeling like writing has always been part of you, like always
Mhm.
constantly pursuing it, and you were going to get there one way or another. Did you feel like at any point in your career, in your life, that being a healthcare professional was holding you back from that?
No, I don't because when I was practicing, I still had opportunities to write. And it might be a
Interesting.
bit of luck because when I was working in the community pharmacy sector, working for a small grocery store chain, I was assigned to a special project where I would travel to different pharmacies throughout the region and have consultations with patients. And at the time, it gave me the opportunity to develop essentially templates for
Hmm.
documents that would be filled out. And I also got to give presentations not only at the corporate headquarters, but also a webinar that I was invited to put on by the Texas Pharmacy Association.
Wow, I love that. I love that, and I think writing now that's a really great avenue for a lot to pursue. I'm sure a lot of our audience listeners would love to pursue a writing career as well. But having to do that on top of a career or a job or a business, Dr. Frida, if writing was a prescription, what do you think is the important part? How do you have a healthy mind in order to keep writing? If we were to pursue writing at the same time with our career, how do we get that done, basically?
I think it depends on the individual, but I think part of the healthy mind is just starting with a clean slate, making sure that you tap into yourself, tap
Wow.
into like your spiritual base if you have a spiritual practice. I find that, at least for me, the mornings are the quiet time. And
Oh, there
before
you go.
like I get that adrenaline rush, and especially if you're an early morning person, or even if you're a night owl, the wee hours of the night when the earth is still,
Hmm.
sometimes that's when we can get those creative juices flowing because we don't have distractions.
Wow, that's it. That's it. I was going to ask, though, you laughed there when writing a book was like a prescription. What would be the dosage, right? And the dosage that you told us just now is like a quiet morning. How about that? Let's start with a quiet morning. Make sure the first thing that you do today is for yourself. And I love that. I love that advice. I love that it's something that anyone is relatable. Anyone can pursue. Anyone who wants to be a writer. And of course, you've tackled something in your book that is so relatable. It's so relevant today and this time. In your book, it's called Breaking Crazy. Breaking Crazy, working from home without losing your marbles. You touch on the mental impacts of working remotely. And first of all, what inspired you to explore this topic? And how has research helped people, how has your research helped people cope with these challenges?
Yeah. So, question number one, I'll answer first, if you don't mind.
Please,
So,
please.
the way that what prompted me to explore the topic was I became a full time accidental telecommuter unexpectedly back in 2012. So I was hybrid when I was working as a traveling pharmacist. And then I took a job that I thought I was going to have to move to the East Coast for. And they pitched me the idea of working from home once they found out I had some hybrid experience.
Wow.
And at the
Okay.
time, yeah, the company, it was a small startup. They didn't have a lot of resources to support remote workers. There was no Microsoft Teams or Zoom. The company didn't even have like an instant messaging system. So I'm, 1,100 miles away, and all of my coworkers were driving into the office. And I dealt with a lot of isolation and different issues. And I instantly started researching because that's one thing I know how to do, right? And looking for solutions. I bought books and I talked to people who worked from home or had worked from home. And most of the
Right.
people in my network who at least had some remote experience, if they had ever worked from home full time, they told me they all ended up ultimately, with the exception of maybe one person, going back into the office because it was too much pressure.
Right.
But
Right.
remember, this was a long time ago. Now, is that the case today? Obviously not. And obviously, since that time, I've met many more people. But unfortunately, the research that connected the isolation and just the remote working environment at the time. So we're talking, 10, 12 years ago, or whatever, that research really wasn't there. There was very little. And most of the books that I found and articles at the time about working from home and the mental effects of it, the books mainly focused on productivity. So essentially, how to get your job done. And they only made like a passing reference to the mental health aspect, saying to, go outside for a walk or take a break and then go back to your desk. So I saw this as a time to fill the void.
Wow. Okay. That's very interesting because, for one, it's like it was so difficult, right? Like the transition of going from office work to fully remote and even hybrid, I think it was just even more difficult as well. But you talk about like the little things like going for a walk, like on how to cope basically. But you said like you went deeper into your research, and you talk about this in your book. And what were the deeper aspects of that you covered, that you uncovered, that you're teaching in your book as well, that help people cope with when it comes to remote work?
Yeah, so I think part of it is a lot of introspection and getting to know yourself. Like different personalities thrive
Hmm.
more. You have to be disciplined, you have to make a plan, and understanding that it's okay to recognize that, you might need some help or that you need to take a break. It's okay to be human. So, what I uncovered was developing a system and being able to stick to it, not being afraid to revise,
Hmm.
building a network of people who got it, which
Sure,
nowadays
sure.
is easier than what it was at that point, and just holding myself accountable. Like, really making a plan probably is the number one thing,
That's it.
because it's like that saying, um, if you don't plan, then you set yourself up for failure.
That's it. That's it. And this is very interesting as well. Like I said, it's relevant today. It's very important. But also the interesting aspect, another interesting aspect that came to mind is right now is like the discussion surrounding remote work. Now that people have had a taste of remote work, people don't want to go back to it, right? But you talk about coping with the challenges as well. Like first off, was it more challenging? Did you find that there was more challenges doing remote work? But if so, why did why do what do you think now about people not wanting to go back to work now that they've experienced remote work?
Well, I think sometimes initially it can be more challenging at first if you're not used to it, even if you happen to be introverted, which like many writers, I happen to be. But as far as like going back into the office, what was that other question? The other part
Yes,
of
so
that?
it was difficult at the initial from the get-go initially adjusting, but now once people have had a taste of remote work, they don't want to go back to the office. So what do you think
Right.
about that? Is it more of, does it show that it's more challenging in the office than it is working remotely?
I think both sides can have their challenges for different
Hmm.
sets of reasons. Uh, you have to be more motivated, more of a self starter, I believe, in a remote setting. But I think, as far as people not wanting to go back, once you kind of become adjusted and you find a routine, I think that that becomes nice. But I think, above anything else, one of the top attractions is the convenience, especially if you spent long hours on the road. So, like for me, when I went from being even a hybrid worker to fully remote, sometimes I was on the road 3, 4, 5 hours a day. When that chews up so much of your day, and you go from that to being at home where you don't have the stress of the commuting or even staying overnight in a hotel, which I did at times, then you realize you have a little bit more work life balance.
That's it, absolutely. And do you feel like these? What were the biggest challenges then that when it came to when you were addressing breaking crazy in your book? A lot of challenges to cope. You you put into there also the deeper coping mechanisms as well. And you mentioned just now the stress of commute. People realize like, wow, I'm never going to commute again. I love that. Why not, right? And now that we're exploring this topic, as we're getting deeper into it, how do you feel like your research has evolved throughout the time? Then now that we're adjusting as well, how do you now also address the concerns of people who don't want to go back to the office?
Well, addressing those concerns, of course, having more research and data helps. And we
Hmm.
have the pandemic to thank for that. That allowed me to finish the book because there
Wow.
was all of a sudden an explosion of research, right?
Hmm.
Uh, yeah. But as far as addressing it, a lot of it has to do with, if, for example, someone's wanting to barter with their boss about switching to either hybrid or possibly fully remote, showing productivity. The deep work comes to being able to show results, that you're able to deliver the same results, if not more results. in a remote setting, because to your point, you've got more work-life balance. You can be more focused, provided you do focus well at home, and being able to kind of substantiate that, because at the end of the day, you were in a position where you're expected to deliver. So if you can show that you're able to do that, and also probably save some costs for the company, depending on the type of work that you do, in addition to boosting that bottom line, then that in itself can definitely help substantiate your argument.
That's it. That's it. And I love that. I love that you show the productivity. It works. I mean, if you could focus more at home and remotely, and it does work. We already see that there's research behind it, and people are saying that they work better at home. Then make sure to show it. Make sure to just put it out there. Make sure do you have the productivity to back that up. I love it. I love that you put it's like an overlap again. Where your career in healthcare and to writing, it feels like a culmination of both of that, and how it came together on this book, Breaking Crazy. But of course, it's not the only book that you've written. You also have a children's activity book, Enjoy the Ride, which is also available on Amazon. But I do want to touch up on that little book, that this new book that's about to come up, that we were talking about prior to this show, prior to recording. I feel like this is more of a passion project for you. Talk to us a little bit about that book that's about to come out. Is it almost done? Where is it right now? We're excited about it. Please talk to us about that.
Yeah, well, it's a series, but there are two that I'm releasing at about the same time, and just finishing up on illustrations and whatnot. But they're children's books about women who ran for president before Hillary, before Kamala, mainly because this was something that I had started writing about back in 2016, when Hillary had won the major party ticket. And so I had written about this for some major publications such as American History and AARP and so forth. And I see this, yes, you're right, it's a passion project. I want to inspire young girls, and I think representation is important. And it's not necessarily about, oh, go run for president, oh, get into politics. It's really not about that at all. It's really about, these are women who ran on beliefs that they had at times where you didn't see women, period, and very few women who looked like them in these types of positions, and they believed in themselves. And then when you dig deeper into their personal narratives, they did so many other things. These are all very successful, high achieving women who just happened
Yes.
to run for president. Like, the
Wow.
fact that they ran was just kind of minor, and it's almost a uniting thing.
Wow. I love that. I love that. I love that you say that the fact that they ran was a minor part. They were powerful women to begin with, and they've accomplished so much. And I love that you're putting this into writing so you can inspire more and inspire more. You are, you can be great. You can be powerful in many different ways as well. And for women and for little girls as well. Of course, I would not, this episode would not be complete without your website, FredaWiley.com. To all our audience listeners out there, FredaWiley.com. In your website, you say medical writing does not need to be complicated, and you help others, deliver their message, connect with their readers. Talk to us a little bit more about what you do here on your website, and where else can we connect with you? Where else can we find you?
Sure. Yeah. So I'll answer the last question first.
Hmm.
You can find me on all my social handle medias, or social media handles are the same. So Dr. Freda Wy. So for LinkedIn, IG, X, and whatnot. And so in addition to the writing aspect, I also provide strategy consulting. So I help organizations figure out the plan of attack when it comes to marketing, help them identify deficiencies or opportunity areas where they can improve and become more competitive, and have their strengths better recognized by their potential clients and prospects. So those are other services that I provide, in addition to like ghostwriting. So I actually ghost content for C-suite executives and the like.
That's it. That's it. And of course, once again, the website is FredaWiley.com. Freda, do you already have a title for this book that's about your writing that's about to come out?
Yeah. So Charlene Mitchell the first.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay. Wow. Well, we're excited. for that to come out. But also, I invite our audience and listeners to go check out FredaWiley.com. Go check out Dr. Freda's book, Breaking Crazy. If you are working remotely and you feel like you are stuck and you don't know how to handle things, well, Dr. Freda has the blueprint for you. And of course, Dr. Freda, where else can we find this copy of your book and the book that is coming out? When will it be out?
Yeah, so we're looking at early 2025.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Very interesting. Very,
wherever
very
books are
exciting
sold.
stuff. That's it. That's it. Wherever books are sold, up on Amazon, wherever else. And of course, make sure again to go check out Dr. Freda's website, FredaWiley.com. Dr. Freda, thank you so much for coming on to the show. One last bit of wisdom that you would love to leave behind the audience. What would it be? Take us home.
Yeah, so I think my final thoughts would be when it comes to, managing burnout, mental health,
Mhm.
and different things that are in that same category, just realize that you were having a human moment and that there's no shame in getting help. There's no shame in saying, hey, something's not right. And don't ever let someone make you feel otherwise. You have to stand in your truth.
I love that. I love that. Don't make anyone else feel otherwise. And of course, Dr. Freda is the prime example of that. If you can do it, anyone can do it as well. Go check her out. Go check out her website. Dr. Freda, thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Thank you again. It's been a pleasure.
To all our audience and listeners out there, thank you for watching the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this. We will see you on the next one. Bye bye.
All right, so here's the thing. We try to get a little bit better every day, but we can't do it without you. So if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe below. And if you have any comments, just leave them in the space under.